Hey everyone, welcome back. Looks like you're ready to level up your financial game. You've given us a ton of great resources to work with. We've got like excerpts from a personal finance video, some notes you jotted down, even a few budgeting apps you're thinking about trying. So let's dive into all of this and see if we can pull out some personalized strategies for you.
It's funny how people often jump right into budgeting tactics, but they kind of skip over taking a good look at their income first. It's like
Mhm.
uh, it's like trying to plan a road trip without even checking how much gas you've got in the tank.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Got to know your starting point before you map out the journey, right? Speaking of starting points, this video jumps right into the two main types of income, fixed and variable. Fixed income is like that steady paycheck from a 9 to 5, always there when you expect it. But variable income is a little more unpredictable, right? It's got those highs and lows, especially if you're freelancing or something like that.
Exactly. And it's not just about slapping a label on it, like fixed or variable. It's about understanding what each type means for your finances, like the pros and cons of each.
Yeah,
So thinking about your situation right now, what do you see as the biggest advantage or maybe even a challenge based on your income type?
that's a good question to think about. And no matter which type you have, the video really stresses the importance of understanding your cash flow. Where's the money coming from and where's it going? It's that foundation you were talking about. Like building a house, you got to have that solid base.
Yeah, totally agree. Once you have that foundation in place, then you can start looking at different budgeting strategies. And the video breaks them down pretty well by income level. So let's jump into that.
Yeah, let's do it. They seem to have some really targeted advice. So let's start with those earning under $30,000 a year. The video says it's all about prioritizing essential needs, housing, food, utilities, transportation, all that.
Yeah,
I remember seeing in your notes that you want to be more intentional with your spending. So this seems like a good place to start.
absolutely. And they talk about the 50-30-20 rule, which is pretty common. But what I found interesting was how they tied it to stress levels. Like people who use this framework often feel more control of their finances and have less money anxiety. Does that ring true for you at all?
It's interesting you say that. I mean, it makes sense, right? Having that clear framework can definitely reduce that feeling of being overwhelmed. And for our listener, maybe it's about figuring out how to make the 50-30-20 rule work for their lifestyle. Like you mentioned you're really into fitness, so maybe adjusting the wants category to prioritize a gym membership or healthy food would make it easier to stick to.
I think that's a great idea. It's all about finding what works for you and adapting those guidelines.
Mm.
And even on a tight budget, the video really stresses having at least a small emergency fund. Even having $500 to $1,000 set aside can make a huge difference if something unexpected comes up.
Yeah, for sure. It's like having that safety net so you're not totally thrown off if there's a financial surprise. And you mentioned starting small. That's a great point. In fact, you even mentioned trying out a budgeting app in your notes. That could be a really easy way to track your spending and see where you might be able to save a little.
Totally agree. There are some great apps out there that make it super easy to keep track of your money. It doesn't have to be a chore anymore.
Okay, so let's move up the income ladder a bit.
Mhm.
What about those folks earning between $30,000 and $80,000 a year? The video talks about this thing called lifestyle inflation, which is pretty sneaky. It's that tendency to spend more as we earn more and we don't even realize it's happening.
Yeah, it's so subtle. We start thinking, hey, I can finally afford that fancy coffee every day, or maybe it's time to upgrade to a nicer apartment. But the key is being mindful of that spending creep and making sure it's actually moving you towards your goals.
Exactly. Got to stay ahead of that spending creep. You mentioned in your notes that saving for a down payment on a house is a big goal for you. And in this income bracket, the video recommends having a larger emergency fund, maybe 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Does that seem doable given your savings goals?
Yeah, it's definitely worth thinking about. Having that extra cushion can give you some peace of mind and help you stay on track with your savings, even if there are unexpected costs that come up.
Totally. And this is where I think things get really exciting. Compound interest. I know it might not sound as fun as planning a vacation or something, but trust me, it's a game changer when it comes to your finances.
It's basically interest earning interest. So the money you invest starts to snowball over time. And starting early, even with small amounts, can make a huge difference down the line.
The video really hammered that point home about starting early. And I know you mentioned in your notes that you're thinking about early retirement. So, how does this whole compound interest thing play into those plans?
That's a great question to consider. And if you want to learn more about retirement savings, 401ks and IRAs are definitely worth checking out.
Great point. It's never too early to start planning for that dream retirement. Now, I know you mentioned feeling overwhelmed by credit card debt in your notes. And the video touches on a couple of popular debt repayment methods, the debt snowball and the debt avalanche. Have
Hmm.
you heard of those? Do they sound like they might be helpful?
Yeah, it's definitely worth looking into those more. They offer different ways to tackle debt. So depending on your personality and your financial situation, one might be a better fit than the other.
And that's a good reminder that personal finance really is personal. There's no magic formula that works for everyone. It's about finding what works for your unique circumstances and goals.
Exactly. And as your income grows, your financial strategies probably need to grow too. So let's step into the world of higher earners, those making over $80,000 a year. Now, while it might seem like this income level is a financial playground, the video makes it clear that disciplined saving and investing are still super important.
Yeah, I can see that. It'd be easy to get caught up in all the possibilities and start spending more freely. But building that strong financial foundation is key no matter how much you earn.
You got it. And at this income level, you might start thinking about different savings and investment options, like high-yield savings accounts, stocks, bonds, things like that. The video even talks about diversification, which is spreading your investments across different things to manage risk. I remember you mentioned being a bit risk-averse in your notes, so diversification might be especially important for you to explore.
Good point. And honestly, managing investments can get pretty complicated. So the video suggests considering working with a financial advisor. They can help you create a plan that's tailored to your goals and your risk tolerance and all that.
That's a great idea, especially as your financial picture gets more complex. And at this income level, you might also start thinking about things like tax optimization and estate planning, things that might not have been on your radar before.
Wow, yeah. Things are definitely getting more intricate. I can see how having a professional to guide you through all that could be really helpful. But let's be real for a second. Higher income can also mean more temptation to splurge right. Those dream vacations, designer clothes, fancy gadgets, they all seem within reach.
Oh, absolutely. It's totally understandable. But it's all about finding that balance,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, enjoying the rewards of your hard work while still being responsible with your savings.
Right, finding that sweet spot where you can enjoy life's little luxuries without putting your long-term financial well-being at risk. So we've looked at budgeting strategies across different income levels. Now let's dive into some saving strategies that can work for anyone regardless of how much they make.
Sounds good. There's some really powerful tactics that can help you build wealth no matter what your income bracket is.
All right, so saving strategies that work for everyone. The video was really big on automation. I think that's something that could benefit anyone no matter what their income is.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's such a simple thing, but so effective. Like just setting up automatic transfers to your savings or investment accounts. It just takes the thinking out of it. You're paying yourself first before you even have a chance to spend the money.
I love that. It's like making saving a non-negotiable part of your routine. And I remember you mentioned in your notes that you sometimes feel overwhelmed trying to keep track of everything. So automation could be a big help there.
Absolutely. It just takes that mental burden off your shoulders and helps you build wealth consistently.
The video also had some good tips for cutting back on unnecessary expenses. I thought that was really insightful. Like taking a hard look at your daily habits and seeing where you might be spending without even realizing it.
It's about being conscious of where your money's going. It's
Yeah.
so easy to just fall into those patterns of spending without thinking about it.
Totally. And what's unnecessary for one person might be a priority for someone else. It really comes down to your values. Like if you're on a tight budget, maybe you skip that daily latte from the coffee shop and make your own at home. But if catching up with friends over coffee is something you really value and it brings you joy, then maybe you find other areas to cut back. It's all about finding that balance.
You said it. It's not about depriving yourself. It's about making sure your spending is in line with what's important to you.
Yeah.
And even if you have a higher income, there are always ways to be smarter with your money. Maybe it's being more picky about those expensive vacations you take or resisting those impulse buys online.
Yeah, little changes can really add up over time. One of the things that really resonated with me from the video was how they emphasized paying off high interest debt. It's this huge weight lifted off your shoulder.
It really is. It frees up so much of your income so you can actually save and invest more.
Yeah, it clears the path to reaching your financial goals faster. Speaking of goals, I loved how the video talked about visualizing your financial aspirations. It gives your saving a purpose, like you have a tangible target you're working towards.
Having a clear vision of what you want to achieve financially is super motivating. What did you think about their discussion on goal setting?
I loved the idea of making a financial vision board. Remember, you mentioned wanting to travel more. Maybe put a picture of your dream destination on that vision board so you see it every day and it reminds you of what you're saving for.
That's such a great idea. It keeps you focused and motivated, especially when those tempting purchases try to lure you off track. It's a visual reminder of what you're working towards.
Okay, ready for some timeless financial wisdom? The video wrapped up with what they called the golden rules of personal finance.
Gotta love those classic principles. Live below your means, focus on your long-term goals, and avoid bad debt like the plague.
Solid advice. And what really stuck with me was the reminder that our financial situations are always changing. Life happens, our income might change, our goals might shift. It's all about being adaptable.
For sure. Your budget shouldn't be set in stone. It's a living document that you can tweak as needed. It's about finding what works for you at each stage of your financial journey.
That's so important. Your financial plan is unique to you. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's about what fits your circumstances and helps you reach your
Yeah,
goals.
I couldn't agree more. It's about taking control of your finances and making choices that reflect your values and priorities. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Building sustainable habits is what leads to lasting financial well-being.
Well, we covered a lot today, from different types of income to budgeting and saving and investing. I feel like we've really dug into the resources you gave us and pulled out a lot of great info.
It's been a good deep dive. And you know what's interesting to me? No matter how much money you make, those basic principles stay the same. It's all about having that solid base, being careful about how you spend, and making choices that help you reach those long-term goals.
Yeah, you're right. It's all about taking charge of your money and creating a future you're excited about.
And it's not just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about feeling good about your finances, having that sense of security and freedom.
So true. It's about making your money work for you, not the other way around.
Exactly. So as we wrap things up here, I want to leave you with something to think about. We've talked a lot about managing money, but how can you invest your time and energy to boost your finances too?
That's a great question. I think it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget about the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's about realizing that your time and energy are valuable too. You can invest them just like you invest your money. Maybe you take a class to learn new skills or start a side hustle that you're passionate about. Or maybe you just focus on taking care of yourself so you have the energy to reach your financial goals.
Those are all great ideas. Our finances are connected to every part of our lives. It's about making choices that make us feel good physically, mentally, and financially.
Totally agree. It's like a holistic approach to money.
We loved going through all this with you today. Hopefully you've got some good ideas to try out in your own life. And remember, we're here to support you on your financial journey. So share your wins with us or reach out if you have any questions.
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep working towards that financial future you've always wanted.
And until next time, happy budgeting.